I think the most wonderful thing that we can give ourselves is the permission to feel whatever it is that we're feeling, to not apply judgment or shame or embarrassment, to not lock ourselves even further down and deeper within the depths of whatever we're experiencing, but to recognize that we're human beings and things will come up and we're going to be triggered and we're going to get angry or we're going to get sad or lonely or just so totally unbelievably mad, and that's okay. It's okay as long as we also give ourselves the permission to be human and to see ourselves in that moment and check in and say, what can I give you that you don't have right now that you need? Hey, so it's been a while since I've talked about my emotional life. I realize, like, the last few videos I've talked about just these general lessons or things that I've picked up from things that I've been reading. But it's been a little while since I've talked to you about things that I've learned about my own life, my personal life, and my emotional healing journey, I guess you could say. And I want to talk about that today. I remembered an experience that I had that I actually had happen a few times when I was a kid. But the reason that I'm making this video now is because I told somebody who's close to me that this happened, and she stopped me in my tracks, and she was the one who said, I'm so sorry that happened to you, that's not something that should have been said to you at all. And it was almost in the gravitas and the seriousness with which she responded to me and held space for what I said that made me realize how impactful it was for me. And maybe the next best thing that I can do is talk to you about what that was. I've talked a lot on this channel about the childhood trauma that I experienced and the fact that my parents would always fight and the tension and the fact that, this is all buttoning it up in a synopsis that's leaving a lot of details out, but a lot of that led me to feel like my own personal issues were not really serious, were not really priorities, because everybody else around me seemingly had something more important to worry about and focus on. And that definitely ties into what I'm about to say, which is that I struggle to cry. I'm not a crier. And I have been this way for as long as I can remember. I'm 25 years old and I just don't really cry. And that's not to say that I don't get sad or lonely or experience the emotions that one would ordinarily think accompany the feeling of crying and needing to cry. I definitely feel those things, but I just am so emotionally blocked and locked and frozen that I can't really cry. I'm actually super jealous of people who are criers, which is really funny because people who are criers tend to say that like it's something to be embarrassed by or not cool. And I'm like, no, that's so amazing that you're a crier. It means that you're experiencing some emotion and it's flowing freely out of you. That's amazing. I wish I could. So I was thinking about when that became a thing, because it's been like that for as long as I can remember. And then in the process of kind of going backwards and thinking about all of these issues that I've had since I was a kid and kind of putting the timelines together, I remembered that when I was a young girl, 6, 7, 8 years old, maybe 9, 10, I don't know, kind of in that general vicinity of time, whenever I would have a tantrum and I would start to break down and I'd be hysterical and in tears, after a little while, my mom would get kind of just fed up with it and impatient that I would continue to cry. And she told me that the boogeyman would come and cut my tongue off if I didn't stop crying. She'd be like, ooh, the boogeyman, he's right around the corner. He's going to come get you and you're never going to talk again. Your tongue's going to be frozen. And it's one of those funny examples to think about, and it almost sounds kind of weird to even talk about now and to say out loud, because I'm an adult and I understand that that's not actually how things work, that no proverbial boogeyman is going to come cut my tongue off or stop me from being able to speak. But when I was a kid, it was definitely something that I was afraid of. And what would happen next is that I would put all of this energy and intense energy, it would take a lot to essentially shore up the dams inside of me to stop myself from crying. because I was just releasing, and all of a sudden I was so afraid of releasing. I felt like something was going to come get me if I continued to cry, that I put a lot of energy into being able to curtail my tears and my emotional response and shut it all down. I remember that feeling viscerally, like even now, even 20 years later, or almost 20 years later, how hard it was to get myself to stop crying in those moments. And it's not so much about what my mother said to me in that moment that I want to focus on, but it's the implications of what was said to me and how that impacted the way that I carried through my life. You see, because once I started to hear that and think that and associate that feeling of fear if I cry, that's really, I think, when I started to bottle my emotions up and to learn that the most important thing that I could do is keep my emotions inside myself. And so as I grew up, what happened was every time I felt myself needing to release emotional energy, needing to cry, needing to yell, needing to scream, needing to do something to move energy through me, to move emotions from me, out of me, and just process things, I'd shut down. I'd freeze. I'd lock up, and I would tense myself so hard trying to preserve a perceived state of calm on the outside because I wasn't allowed to let anything out. And that definitely metastasized. And that definitely evolved as I became an adult, because now I'm 25 years old. And for the last number of years, whenever something happens, when I get triggered, when I get angry, when I get frustrated, even if it's something as benign as just being cranky, I don't think it's appropriate for me to express these types of emotions, because there's such an old ancient conditioning in there that says you're not allowed to do that. That's not something we do, and that's not okay to do. And let's magnify it by the fact that I'm an adult now, so I can't throw temper tantrums. You know what I mean? I can't be in public and just break down. I can't just go kick and scream and wail because I'm an adult now. Maybe a child can do that. I mean, I wasn't allowed to do that as a child, but like, you can't do that when you become an adult. And so whenever these sorts of things happen, I just hold them so hard inside myself and I don't let them go. And that doesn't mean that I'm processing them. You know, people might see me when I'm in one of those moods, or they'll watch a situation happen and they'll say something like, "I can't believe you kept your cool." But I didn't keep my cool. I just kept the tornado or the fire that was burning up inside me. And what happens when we don't release our emotions and process them is that they unfortunately turn back onto ourselves. And that's exactly what's happened, I realize, over the last however many years I've been an adult, in that limbo where you're no longer allowed to kind of have the emotional release that I should have been able to have when I was a kid, is that I'm not really great at processing my feelings or my moods or my emotions and letting them pass through me and expressing them. I can't cry because that's just sort of something that, like, an ability that I've lost unless I'm really just totally broken open. And I mean, I can count on two hands the amount of times that I've cried probably over the last 2 or 3 or 4 years. It means that all of that energy gets kind of pent up and coiled and tense inside me. And then I just kind of basically walk around the rest of the day after whatever triggered me or set me off to feel angry or sad or whatever, just like white knuckling the world. And so if you look at my face, it seems like I'm calm, cool, and collected, and maybe that's something that appears to be a good thing, but it's actually really maladaptive and really dangerous, because then I'm just holding on to all of this energy that's not safe for me to hold. Its only goal, its only mission is to release, and yet here I am tensing and packing it down and shoving it down, and that's not right. It's not good. It's not healthy. The reality kind of started to set in for me that I need to learn how to let these emotions go. And I didn't learn this in therapy. I haven't been in therapy for the last year. This is kind of the next emotional frontier, so to speak, that I'm taking on by myself. And this is what I'm doing about it. Whenever I get angry or triggered or upset, I catch myself in that mode where I coil and tense and don't want to release, and I'm pushing that energy back into myself. And whenever it's safe for me to and available for me to, in terms of a free moment of solitude or quiet or peace or being alone, I realize that I need to let these kinds of emotions out. Even if it's not something that's anger or intensely connected to somebody else. Like sometimes I'm just having an emotional emergency in my body because these things happen. You get triggered for the randomest things, or I get a little panicked and it feels like it comes out of nowhere, and I don't understand why my emotions are sort of tail spinning out, but there's always a root. And I'm learning to let myself have those roots now. I'm reparenting myself in the sense that when those things happen, I'll do some things like put on a loud song if I'm driving, for example, and just start shouting the lyrics, or I'll let myself dance and I'll let myself move around. If the weather's really good and I feel like I have a pent-up amount of energy, I'll just put on some music in my headphones really loud and go for a super fast walk. I journal if that is what feels the most right to me. The point is not necessarily exactly what I'm doing in those moments, but that I'm letting myself move energy that in the past I told myself I can't move, that I used to deny that impulse. It's not a healthy thing to deny. I think the most wonderful thing that we can give ourselves is the permission to feel whatever it is that we're feeling, to not apply judgment or shame or embarrassment, to not lock ourselves even further down and deeper within the depths of whatever we're experiencing, but to recognize that we're human beings and things will come up and we're going to be triggered and we're going to get angry or we're going to get sad or lonely or just so totally unbelievably mad, and that's okay. It's okay as long as we also give ourselves the permission to be human and to see ourselves in that moment and check in and say, what can I give you that you don't have right now that you need? That's what I'm learning to do. And it's hard. It's simple, but it's hard. It feels weird to be 25 years old. I'm literally white knuckling my knees right now. I'm just grabbing. It feels so weird to be an adult and to have these things happen and to realize I need to take myself on a walk. I need to go meditate. I need to go breathe. I need to go do X, Y, Z or whatever in order to feel normal, in order to get myself back to homeostasis. But the best thing that I can do is let myself get back to homeostasis. I'm tired of acting like I need to be put together. And I think that's something that in the past I would never have let go because it associated to me a state of being safe and not alerting anybody else around me that I was struggling. If I just stayed super stoic and calm and neutral on the outside, then nobody would know how I really felt, and that would make me feel safer and more free in the world, at least from an external perspective. But I'm just tired of being that way. That hasn't served me, it hasn't served, quite honestly, anybody, because I'm not going to be the best version of myself for anybody else in my life if I'm holding on to all of this stuff. I'm not going to be the best version of myself for me, so who's it serving? Quite literally no one. So I'm learning, slowly but surely, how to just do whatever calls to me in that moment, and if I get cranky, let myself be cranky. Not apply that judgment, not apply that shame, not apply that humiliation because I was so calm for so long on the outside, and now here I am, vocalizing and tormenting and raging. I need to rage. If that's what happens and that's what I need in that moment, then so be it. And I'm really proud of myself for getting here, because this is just new frontier, new era, new Ari version 7.0, if you want to call her that. The girl who's not going to wait and think and ask herself, well, what do they think maybe about what you're about to do? Just doing what I know I need for myself and believing, trusting that I am the subject matter expert of my body and my lived experience, and I can give myself whatever it is that I need now. Because the truth is, yeah, I am an adult. And maybe I missed out on that opportunity when I was a kid, and maybe I didn't have parents who could show up for me and help me heal and process things that I was experiencing. But I am an adult now, and it's my responsibility, but it's also in my ability. And I love that. It's the best thing that I can do is to utilize that ability. So that's it. I'm going to wrap up the video here. Thank you for being here on this journey with me. I love you so much. I cut my hair again, although this time I really like it. I asked for this to happen, and got a new shirt. I wore this one all the time. I have this in white. I wanted it in black. Drinking a little kombucha. It's been a while since I've done a little seltzer open, but yeah, I don't know. Now I'm just rambling. I'm just really proud of myself. See, I just moved energy right now. I'm kind of a little exhausted in a good way. Like, it feels like I just went to the spa. Sorry. Because I said to myself, I have the permission to feel what I need to feel. It's powerful stuff, man. It really is. Anyway, that's it for me this week. I love you. I'm going to go write. I'm going to go sit down with myself and process my feelings. And I will talk to all of you in the next video. Next video, I will have a tattoo. A new tattoo. Maybe I'll make the next video about that. I don't know. We'll see where the world takes me. I love you, and I'll talk to you next week. Goodbye.